everyone, this is David Stark from WatcherPass.com, your website for movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Today, I'm joined by Olivia Luccardi, who plays Kelsey in Paint. We're going to talk to Olivia in just a second, but first, let's check out the trailer. And while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that'd be fantastic. It helps me out a lot. Thank you.
You know, real life is bold. You spend all this time in art school, and then people think that you just paint for a hobby.
Just had a meeting with the gallery owner.
Oh.
Yeah, he told me I wasn't dark enough.
Is that David Craze?
Sit down.
He's a homeless person. He's a famous painter. Ew. You're saying I should blackmail him.
Get your foot in the door. You'll see anything goes in this business.
You are just the most innocent person sometimes. Are you really ready to live in this world?
I'm an artist. Just because it doesn't pay me money doesn't mean it's not a job.
That's exactly what it means.
So thank you so much for joining me. This is Olivia Luccardi. She plays Kelsey in Paint. Paint is available digitally on pretty much every platform, so you can rent it, buy it, watch it a couple times. It's a really interesting movie about kind of artists pursuing their dreams and kind of trying to stay true to themselves while also navigating the art world. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I talked to Mike Walker earlier about this film. So this was a short film / pilot that then kind of went into dormancy and then became a movie. So what was it like kind of going through that roller coaster? And did you have, how kind of keyed into the process were you when this was happening?
So I can't remember years for you because I've lost track of time during COVID, but we did shoot it as a television pilot, and we actually got into Sundance in their episodic division, and we were in the first block of the first year of them opening up this program that they have. So it was a pilot episode. It was great. It sadly did not get picked up, so it did go dormant. Michael reworked the script and pretty much combined some from the later episodes that he wrote and put them in to make a feature film. So then we came back over a year later. We did shoot at the end of the summer of 2019, the rest of the film. I believe 2018 it was in Sundance, 2017 we shot. Pretty sure.
Sounds accurate.
So then, yeah, at the end in 2019, we shot the rest of it as a film, and he cut it together where it works. And luckily, we got into a couple film festivals. Sadly, they weren't in person because of COVID. And now it's on all platforms, available for everyone to watch, which I'm really glad, because it is a really great film. That's you don't see many films about the art world, especially the New York City art world, and especially the art world that's like the real people trying to make it and seeing some of the bullshit of it all. Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of, you often see films about maybe like a talented genius who's like trying to make their masterpiece, but you don't see films about kind of artists who are actually kind of struggling and just trying to, it's a really interesting push and pull where you've got, you're trying to pay rent, but you also want to stay true to your art, and kind of like, how do you navigate those, sometimes competing interests. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird cutthroat world, the art world, and very judgy. And I feel like, this conversation got brought up once of just, it's hard to become a known artist nowadays. So, obviously you have like the greats like Monet and Van Gogh, and everyone knows them, their household names, Picasso, but you don't know any modern household name artists, really. It goes by not statuses, different groups of people. Yeah. Like I could go to anywhere on the Lower East Side of New York and be like, do you know Claw? And they'd be like, yeah, we know Claw, who's an amazing female graffiti artist, and she's all over New York, and she's one of the original female like graffiti artists. So, but everyone would know that. But if I go somewhere else, they might be like, I have no idea who you're talking about. And also at the same time, she is not technically an artist to those art world people because she uses spray paint.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, I don't even know how this just came up. I think I just went on a rant.
Well,
but
it feels to me kind of like every time I try to talk to my friends about indie films, and I'm like, "Have you seen this?" And like, no. Like, okay, oh, how, you know, have you seen? Everyone knows the big blockbusters, kind of like, you know, your Monets, your, you know, Picassos, but you kind of all the kind of more niche things, you do kind of have to go to like a very specific audience, and it's very tough to kind of break it when you've got these kind of large players, and you know, just trying to get that groundswell seems very difficult, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think that it's sort of, with indie films, it's a little bit changing. It's just that when the indie film is out, no one knows about it. But then people learn about it and it becomes, you know, popular, which is sad because places won't promote indie films because of the fact that there's not a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get the traction years down the road, and then they don't have the availability or the reason to promote this old project, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like, I've learned this recently, that pre-orders, like when you go online and you pre-order a movie, for an indie movie especially, the pre-orders are really important because it shows the production companies that are selling the film and that are putting the film out there. There's a word for them that I can't think of right now.
Distributors?
But distributors. Yep. Did you just say that?
I did, yes.
Thank you. So these distributors, it shows in the numbers of like, oh, like Pain has this many pre-sales, like let's put it out there. Or if, like, you know, the other film that I did, Go Don't Go, it's like they see the pre-sales, like, well, let's advertise this more so that it's up on our, because right now Gravitas Ventures, I follow them on Instagram, and they have been promoting this Dakota Johnson film. So, but you know, and obviously she's a name and she has a following, so they're like, let's promote this because it's easy to find people that are in that wheelhouse of Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
So I guess my main point is, people pre-order your indie films because it helps the industry, and indie films are the way of the future, I honestly think.
They've been really kind of crucial to kind of fill the void in this COVID time, because it does feel like, you know, you've got all these films that kind of now have equal-ish footing. You know, you have more people being more comfortable with digital distribution, and you know, you're not getting them drowned out by big blockbusters. So they have been kind of crucial.
Now is such an interesting time for films in general, because I mean, you have so many platforms to do it, and even for actors as well. It's, you know, back in the day, in the golden age, you had, or era, whatever, you have like 3 actresses, like 3 big star actresses, but they're in everything. But now you have so many different things, so many different looks, so much realism in characters and stories and this and that. So you have these wide variety of actresses that can find work and do what they want and love, and be in awesome indie movies on so many different platforms. And you know, you got Netflix, Hulu, Vudu, Amazon. This other one in my head, Quibi. You got a phone one.
Well,
Quibi.
It's back now too.
Oh, was it gone?
It folded, but I guess Roku purchased them, or at least purchased their content.
So Quibi's not a good example, really.
Well, it's, you know, they provided another avenue.
It did.
And they had some really good content. I watched a few of their films. I was very sad when they went away. So I'm happy that they're on
they
Roku.
had an interesting thing where it would be vertical if you had it vertical, and horizontal if you turned it horizontal. The camera angles changed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That I think is very cool concept.
Yeah. So going back to kind of the original filming of this film, I was amazed to hear that Michael said that most of the footage from the pilot made it into the final film, and then I was amazed to hear that you all looked similar enough after over a year. Like, good congrats to you all for keeping the looks and you know, kind of staying the same.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a pretty good job with that. The boys' hairs change, but we play off reasoning for that. But yeah, no, it does work together pretty seamlessly.
Yeah.
So editing and everything else, they did a great job.
Yeah, I had no idea. So trying to think back to sometime before 2017, how did you originally get kind of attached to this movie? You know, it sounds like you know the art scene, so maybe you were in similar circles to Michael, or I'm just trying to figure out how you all got initially attached.
I auditioned for it. Very normal process for it. I auditioned. It went well. Michael was in the room, I believe. Or maybe that was the second one. I don't know. What's time anymore? Like I said, I don't know anymore. So anyway, at one point, you know, I definitely know he was in the room. And you know,
back when we could be in rooms together. That was a weird time back when we could like, be in a room.
A tiny room and 5 other people. So I did the audition and it went really well. I got the call back and we did some chemistry reads, which I ended up doing it with this kid, Jack Falco. We're gonna erase his name because this other kid. So with this other kid. And who ended up not getting it, but it was supposed to be me and Quinn being in the gallery scene. So we ended up doing that and it went really well. And we ended up shooting the pilot and, you know, it went well. Michael and I worked really well together. I really like him as a director, as a writer, as a person, as a creative, you know, he's a great guy. And we shot the pilot. He was really good about keeping up with us and keeping us in touch with the process and what was going on. Then we got into Sundance and we all spent time at Sundance because we all, you know, shared a house. I got the flu. So maybe there was like more that I needed him to see my side of like puking next to the toilet for all day. So, but
wow.
You know,
yeah, that's you're suffering for your art.
Yeah. Well, it was just like I'm at Sundance and I'm like I don't want to move. They're like, Olivia, are you hungover? I'm like, I know the difference. Like, but yeah, I had a little bit of the flu. But then we stayed in contact post, like pretty regularly post Sundance, keeping up of like if there was anyone that was being interested in it, how it was going about being a pilot, when it wasn't going to be a pilot, when they were going. He was like, we want to do it again and do it as a film. And I was like, that's a great idea. He's like, would you still want to be involved? We obviously we can't do it without you. And I was like, of course. And they were so kind and they waited until I was done filming The Deuce at the end of the summer of 2019. And then we shot for 2 weeks to finish the film and it came out wonderfully. I'm really proud of it. The whole cast is great. Michael did a fantastic job. And like I said, it really taps into a world that isn't very seen often, which is the art world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, you know, going to the cast, I love this kind of group, like I guess misfit group of artists. Just the core 3 artists were just a lot of fun to follow. You know, it sounds like you hadn't worked with them before. Where did you kind of get that camaraderie? I imagine maybe being all holed up in a house at Sundance probably helped with that, or you know,
it did. Anything? Yeah.
Well, they've seen you puke, so they've seen like, you know, you at your best and your worst. So
I actually, luckily, it was just like me upstairs and Michael and his girlfriend across the way. So Josh and was Paul even in our house? I know he's there at some point, but I think he was only there for a quick second. But Josh was downstairs, so they were downstairs as I was creeping upstairs. But the camaraderie, I always joke that I say to make you feel close to any castmates, talk about your bowel movements. If you work with me, I'll probably talk about them. But no, I just, you know, I always joke, but it is sometimes a fun way of just being like, talk about shit. Like, it does open people up. Try it, people. You'll see. Talk about defecating or sex, but not together, because then you will be outcasted.
Those are 2 very memorable things. Yes.
Yes, they are. But we just clicked. They did a good job during casting. We clicked pretty well. It came off natural. They're all cool people, cool guys. Everyone was great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I love, we kind of touched on it. I love the themes in this film about kind of like having to stay true to your art and try, your character specifically, I think is very, yours and Paul's, actually, I guess you all are pretty true, but your character is also very kind of like trying to stay true to yourself and true to your art, and this kind of push and pull between, the art world and kind of the more commercialized world. Have you kind of had similar experiences as an actor, trying to kind of, be very careful with what kind of roles you pick and trying to like stay true to, the types of roles that you want to take? Or, have you ever run into situations like that where you're kind of having a conflict between what you wanted to do and kind of what would be like an easy payday or something like that?
To an extent, but not really. I'm glad to say that I'm grateful to say that I haven't really had to do that. Sell a part of me for a part or something like that. I don't think I've really had to do that, like give away any of my integrity of any sort. I do not like some of the business world behind acting. I'll tell you that much, like social media and everything else. Because that stuff is weird. That to me is like, some of my friends would be like, if you need money, why don't you just like do like promotions online? And I was like, I'm not that. I'm not that. That's not me. That to me is like, hi, buy this drink. Let me take this selfie with this like powder. And as I'm doing it, I feel my soul being eaten away a little. People that can do it, good for you. And that's not me. It's just not me. But I feel like just throughout life, you get sometimes like put these opportunities, not just with acting, but anything. But I'm glad to say, I think I'd say no a lot of the time. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's all, I think, and there's a lot of decisions where you're kind of like questioning, whether you want to do this and what kind of the pros and cons of it. So I'm glad to hear that you've kind of been able to stay true to yourself. I will say that every time an actor likes one of my reviews or interviews or something along those lines, I do feel very happy, but no pressure. You stay true to yourself.
Well, I can still do that. I still like supporting.
This is awesome. So now I'd like to switch to the lightning round. This is very kind of short, lightweight questions. And so when I did this with Mike, they're terrible questions because I asked like, are you an artist? He's like, well, I'm a filmmaker. I'm like, okay, yeah. Are you like a traditional arts or something along those lines?
Yeah.
So I will preface this by saying the mediums are, painting, sculpture, graffiti, things like that. All the artist questions, because I know you are obviously an artist already.
Yeah.
So are you an artist in the, I guess, physical media sense? Visual arts world. There we go.
I am a photographer.
Beautiful.
I do film photography, 35 millimeter, and I have gotten into watercolor during the pandemic.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I do video editing for fun. So yeah, yes.
Yes, you are. Perfect.
Yes.
Well, the next question was, what would your medium be? And I feel like photography is a very natural thing for, actors to be in, because you're kind of always focused on the camera already and kind of thinking in that term. So
yeah, I grew up a little bit in the photography world through my parents, so that was something I always loved. And watercolor right now has just been a nice release.
Yeah. And
video editing, I will never take for a job. I will never get paid to do anything. I will not help you with anything to be edited, because it is something that is only for myself.
There we go.
Yeah. And Final Cut Pro is that medium.
There we go. What is the most impressive piece of art you've ever seen?
Ever seen?
In person, we'll say. Or it could be created. I don't know. It's an open-ended question.
One of my favorite pieces of art is, I'm sorry, I want to look it up quick so I don't mess it up. It's a Bernini sculpture. It's my favorite, and I'm kind of annoyed that I can't remember it, but like I said, I just don't want to mess it up. But
This could be your social media plug right here. You try to get sponsored by I don't know, the museum that has this piece of art.
I wish. I go there every single time I'm in Rome. But it's at the Borghese Museum. And I'm so annoyed at myself that I cannot remember. It's not the... here we go. It's the Rape of Persephone. But look how, like, beautiful.
Oh,
look
wow.
at that marble work.
Yeah, that is really impressive.
It's
It looks
so
fluid.
beautiful, and especially like
Yeah.
seeing it in person, and you're just like, how did someone fucking do this?
That's insane.
Basically anything in Rome too.
Yeah.
Because it's like all over the city is art and beautiful art, and I'm Rome sick. I miss it there. So.
Oh, Rome, I love that. Rome sick. That's perfect.
I'm sick.
Have you ever run into what?
So it's my own coined term. It's
There
not
we
coined.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
Now you could also be sponsored by a Rome travel agency. You're
I'll tell you. Where are you at?
Have you ever run into your favorite or kind of like an artist that you've idolized? Have you ever run into someone randomly?
Olivia Benson from SVU.
There we go.
She's an actress, not an artist, but
well, as we clarified, actresses are artists. So
she was someone that I was very starstruck around. She was very nice. And then an actual artist, Nan Golden. Mm-hmm. I've always loved her work. I love the grittiness that she captures, and she's a photographer. And I saw a show of hers at the Whitney through a sort of private event through a friend in the art world, got us in. And she actually was in season 2 of The Deuce, and she had artwork in The Deuce, and she was at the season 2 wrap party. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm outside, like smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, oh, that's Nan Golden. Oh my God, she's right there. Like, I want to talk to her. My friend was like, you should go talk to her. So I went up to her and I was like, hey, I just want to say, like, I love your work. And she goes, do you even know who I am? And I was like, I do. You're Nan Golden. And she's like, okay. Well, like, it was sort of like, I could tell because we were outside, then people knew that it was like a famous party. Yep. That there probably were people like, oh, you were so great on the show. It's like, I'm not on the fucking show. Yeah. So I feel like that's where she came from. And I was like, yeah, you're Nan Golden. You're the photographer. I saw your show at the Whitney. You were there, but you were talking to people, so I didn't approach you then. And you saw her face like, oh, she does.
Yeah.
She does know. Like, she really does. She's not just like brown nosing me. Like, she really does know me. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, are you on the show? And I was like, I was. And she goes, don't remember your face. And I was like, oh, this is my character. My pimp got shot. And she was like, oh, you were great. And I was like, oh, thank you. It was a nice moment.
That's awesome.
She's a great photographer. Yeah.
That's also, kind of similar to what happens in paint. You kind of go.
I mean, I didn't try to sleep with her, but
I mean, I wasn't going to go there, right? We're I don't know if we're at that level where we can talk about sex and or defecation. So, maybe sometime in the future.
Really opening it up there.
The next question was going to be, have you ever been to an art show? But clearly you have, so at least one. So
yeah, my many. I mean, growing up in New York, under 21, it's a very quick place to get alcohol.
There we go.
But no, my mom's partner for many years, he had this sideshow gallery on Bedford Avenue. Sadly, I don't think it's there anymore. Mm-hmm. But so like there was one once a month that I would just go see my mom and get some wine, invite friends, see some art, realize I don't really like that world, and go somewhere else.
Good to learn that early, right? So you don't have to suffer in there.
Yep.
Have you ever bought a piece of art from someone before they were big?
I have got a few. Right. I have a few of my artists. Dan Crouppen is one of my favorite artists. I have a couple pieces by him. I have a piece by my friend Trina Doolittle, which is of the Colosseum and a pinup girl. So I got my little Rome in. And I have Isaac Brun, who's a collage artist. I have Madeline Horwath. I only know that is one of the only things that came off of Instagram that's been very good for me. I made an actual friend through social media, and she does comics, and she's a cartoonist, and she's a great little artist, and she commissioned this Sailor Moon deer piece.
Oh, I love
it. The Sailor Moon
you
deer piece.
commissioned that?
Yeah, it's been a thing I've always wanted. And I messaged her like drunk one night. I was like, would you do this? And she was like, yes, I would. I was like, okay. And she did it. And she sent it to me. And it's great. So she does commissions as well. But yes, I have. I like to. I also, whenever I go somewhere new, I try to get art instead of like as my souvenir from like street artists. So I like to support quote unquote underdog artists.
You feel like the perfect person for this film. I wonder if the other actors were as in the art world as you were. It sounds like you're just a natural there. So
I did work in it for a little while through my old job at Webster Hall. My boss, Gerard McNamee, who was the GM, and this woman, Jenny Mushkin Goldman, they created the quarterly art soiree, and I basically started producing and curating for them for that and making it all happen. And we would turn Webster Hall into an art gallery. So I would find people, musicians, artists, dancers, photographers, filmmakers, and we would have everything. And a lot of the people I found were on the street, like Isaac Brune. I didn't find on the street. I think he was actually put in connection with him. But if I saw an artist I liked, I'd be like, hey, message me. Or musicians, I would leave $5 bills in musicians' cases that says, if you want to play at Webster Hall, like, call me. And so that's how I would try to like get people in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that you are an artist. You've done photography and watercolor. Have you ever sold any of your art?
I did do a watercolor piece for my friend's sister's wedding. That was my first commissioned piece.
That's an impressive first commission. That's a lot of pressure. Huh?
It was, dude. It was. Yeah. I don't know if it was the best, but it was still cute and it was thoughtful, and it wasn't like a big thing. It was $50, but it was for my friend. And I was like, sure, why not? I'm new at this. It's the beginning of my resume. But that was good. And then photography, I've had a couple art shows. I had 2 art shows within my QAS at Webster Hall. But sadly, no like sold pieces yet. If anyone wants to buy them, I have an Instagram, and you can just tell me and I can print it out.
There you go.
And send it. You're
finding all these new avenues for revenue on Instagram. You poo-pooed it before, but now it sounds like it's a way to go.
It's the only one that I use, if anything. But I keep it on my iPad, not on my phone.
There you go. That's separation.
Social media.
So one of my favorite touches in this film was the tattoo on the arm. So do you have any tattoo? Oh, you do have a tattoo. There we go. I was going to ask if you have a tattoo. There it is.
Is that the one, or is it this one?
Well, my favorite was the Dare to Dream, which I don't think you have on your arm.
Oh, that's not me. No, yep. Yeah. That wasn't me. Well, that was cool being Dan Golden. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Those are awesome tattoos, though. So the question was going to be, do you have tattoos? It looks like you do.
I do. I got a few.
And what were the last cookies that you baked?
You don't want to eat them. The last thing I baked was a quiche.
Oh, nice.
With I use Pillsbury biscuits as my crust. I like put them at the bottom and mesh them together and made a quiche. Perfect. I'm more of a savory person. Yeah.
Yeah. And have you ever modeled or been a muse for an artist before?
I have not modeled. I mean, I've modeled, but yes. Actually, a friend who just recently passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
Harrison, thank you. Harrison Reinwald. He would make music for me to edit. But I know no one's really ever gotten his music, so I know that I'm the only one that has it. So I've actually been thinking about maybe somehow getting it out into the world now that he's gone for him. But yeah, I'd say with him.
That sounds like a good project for quarantine. Trying to cut that together.
Yeah,
into some
I
sort
don't
of
have my computer right now. It's broken. So I've got to wait, and then I've got to go through my years of emails and re-download every song, and I'll probably edit something together with it in memory. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a great project to take on.
But yeah, if someone makes art for you, that's like your muse, right?
Yeah, no, that makes that is perfectly fine. No one has ever made art for me, so
I'm sorry. One day.
Someday when I break it big in the film critic.
Make your own art for yourself. It's
not
a bad thing. You could be your own muse.
I guess I should take that back. My children have made art for me, so that's yeah.
Great.
There we go.
Yeah, they're your art. You've produced them.
Yeah, I did. I had some role in that, as far as I can tell. So Paint is available digitally, and I guess what's next for you? Anything other than obviously editing some music and trying to get that out? Any other kind of art projects for you? Anything else going on?
At the moment, no, just auditioning once again and finding something to open up my creativity. How about I can speak right?
You don't have to anymore. That's not the world we live in. No more speaking.
And then finding something that opens me up creatively. Yes.
Excellent.
That's it.
That sounds like a good way to spend the rest of quarantine for however long it's going to be. Fingers crossed. Who knows? But hopefully it's not that much longer.
Hopefully it'll start being under control and no one gets sick anymore.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, also on that happy note, thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Take care.
But David, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was Olivia Luccardi from Paint. Paint is available digitally and on demand on pretty much any platform, so you can rent it, buy it, watch it a couple times. It's a really interesting film. It kind of delves into a area of the art world that isn't normally the focus of movies, so it's kind of give you a new perspective on things, and maybe you'll find a new favorite artist. If you liked this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot to make sure all of my new interviews go straight to you. And as always, please go to watcherpass.com for all your movie reviews, interviews, and recommendations. Thank you.